Hello, guys. I have here with me Kamlesh Nagware, who is the VP of blockchain at Snapper Future Tech. So, Kamlesh is like the guy to go to when you're talking about Hyperledger. He's been there in the ecosystem since the beginning. He is the co-organizer of Hyperledger, and he has been a part of it since a long time. He has also been a part of IBM, which we all know is very closely associated with Hyperledger, and he's also a part of Trust Over IP Foundation. And as I said, he's currently heading the blockchain part of Snapper Future Tech. So, with that being said, Kamlesh, the stage is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Srikar, and hi all. So I will just start because there is a lot to cover, the technical side and the theory part too. So you could see my slides, right?
Yeah, it would be better if you go full screen with.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. It's not.
Yeah.
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 Okay, so I'm just part of the Snapper. Snapper is a blockchain company from last 3-4 years, and we are working with supply chain solution, healthcare, insurance, and e-governance project. That Telangana government project on the land registry done by us, and we are the NM Tech Group funding company with the precious technologies, and we also run the one training entity called Indian Blockchain Institute for the student and working professional and for the corporate training. So I'm just going slowly. So yeah, I think maybe you guys already know about the other blockchain, Ethereum, Bitcoin, multi-chain, and many more, Arthropoda. So similar to Font, the Hyperledger is a blockchain technology, but it's for business, for the enterprises. Because public blockchain, you maybe know like public blockchain, private blockchain, and permission blockchain, and many more concepts in the blockchain space. So Hyperledger fits in the enterprise umbrella. So when the Hyperledger founded in 2015, the Linux Foundation thought to build the cross-industry consortium of communities advancing the business blockchain technologies called permission blockchains, enterprise blockchains. So maybe you guys not aware, Hyperledger is just not the one blockchain, is a collection of different blockchain like Hyperledger Besu, Hyperledger, Burrow, Fabric, Indy, Iroha, Sawtooth. So all these five are different blockchain, different distributed ledgers, and the I think 70 to 80% people are who are using the Hyperledger. They just thought they are using the Hyperledger Fabric, but there are many more like Indy for the decentralized identity and Sawtooth for supply chain use cases. So, but mostly active Hyperledger blockchain is a Hyperledger Fabric. Along with this, we have some libraries and tools to make the development and make developers' life easy, like Hyperledger Aries, Hyperledger Transact, some kind of interoperability at the smart contract layer, Hyperledger Ursa, to make the blockchains interoperable at the cryptographic functions level. Then we have Avalon, Caliper, Celo, and many more, this kind of projects. And recently one project, Cactus, for the integration between the different blockchain. For example, R3 Coda and Hyperledger Fabric can be integrated using the Cactus framework. So since beginning in last 4 years, we have now 16 projects, 3 different projects like Sawtooth, Indy, and Fabric in production releases 1.0, Fabric in 2.0 releases, and there are worldwide meetups, and 250 plus companies are member of the Hyperledger projects. So just let me show some. So if you see the community, so if you go to the hyperledger.org website, you could say that every company you know is a part of the Hyperledger projects, Hyperledger blockchains, whether it's IBM, whether it's Fujitsu, JP Morgan, Microsoft, even Boss, even Cognizant, and many more startups. So all this is a part of the blockchain uh, contribution and the involvement with the Hyperledger community. So in this session, we're going to talk about the specific Hyperledger fabric because Hyperledger is a most active and successful blockchain framework in the Hyperledger umbrella projects, and all the cloud service provider, whether it is Alibaba, AWS, Microsoft, Azure, IBM, all cloud provide the blockchain as a service which is based on the Hyperledger fabric. So it's quite impactful and quite successful in the all the industry use cases when we talk about the enterprise use cases. So Hyperledger Fabric is founded by the IBM and some startup called Digital Asset and DTCC, and then it's evolved around the enterprise and the interoperability concepts is the main focus area. So Hyperledger Fabric was initially controlled by the Digital Asset and IBM as a result of first hackathon is a developing application or solution with the modular architecture. So unlike the other blockchains, the Fabric's main concept is about modular architecture. That means you have flexibility, developer has flexibility to design the architecture as per their convenience, as per their requirement. For example, you have a database flexibility, your architecture flexibility, your crypto, your certificate authority, your even the smart contract languages. Like in Ethereum, you can just write the your smart contract in Solidity, but in the Fabric, you have all in general language like Java, JavaScript, Go, Node.js. All this language is available to write the smart contract, and then couple of software development kits, APIs, SDK to be used in the application development. So this is the journey of the Hyperledger Fabric. So 2017, the first production released in 2017, then in latest 2.11 release in 2020, and Hyperledger Fabric generally every quarterly released, and is a great community with more than hundreds of developers and 45 plus companies involved, including IBM, Intel, and many more. And this is about the roadmap. So what the different features they are developing and building. So at every release and every quarter they come with the new set of features which is generally required by the enterprise companies to for their use cases. So like chain code is terms like smart contract in Fabric. So as per the use cases and as per the industry requirement, it will, because it's a Hyperledger non-profit driven community, so whatever the interest for the community, they build their roadmap as per the requirement. For example, in 2.0 they come with the Alpine images instead of the Ubuntu images for running the Docker images. Okay, so characteristics. So if we compare with the other blockchains, so is a permission. So unlike the Ethereum is a permission blockchain, so every participant who would like to be participate in the blockchain, he should need to first register itself via getting the cryptographic certificate to be part of the network. Then it's a highly modular, means every component, every elements can be plug and play manner. You have a flexibility to even the choose a consensus type, means there is a consensus type for Raft, for the Kafka and Zookeeper, PBFT, and like this. And it's just the basic comparison between the Ethereum and Hyperledger. So is a governance is a properly running by the well-known Linux Foundation, where the all the interesting technologies, whether it's a cloud computing, whether it's a security, cloud security, IoT, even the JavaScript Node.js is a part of the Linux Foundation. Is a permission blockchain, is a private and confidential. You have flexibility to write the chain code in Go, Java, JavaScript, and the scalability is main part. So because it's a permission blockchain, there is a no need to be run as a proof of work consensus. So as a network governance, you can decide who will be part of the that consensus mechanism. So that way we can scale the Hyperledger Fabric to thousands of transactions, and it's tested up to 20k transaction per second in the Fabric network, which is very difficult in the Ethereum and the any other public blockchains. So I talked about it is a modular architecture, scalability, trust and flexibility. So even the in the when we deploy the chain code in smart contract in Ethereum, it's stored as a code in public blockchain, but in Fabric, it's run outside the control of the network, running separately in the chain code container called chain code Docker container. So it's very effective when even the owner of the code is not able to modify the code once it's available to execute in the network. So before starting the demo, just understand some basic terms and Fabric component. So peer, so it's simply every blockchain should have some kind of peers where the actual code and actual process should run. So similar to the Fabric, they have a peer. So peer is a one kind of computing node which hold the database and the current state of the data. And organization, because it's an enterprise blockchain, so enterprise we define via the organization, and organization is just the logical entity to separate the two different business entities. And ordering node, so is similar to the consensus. So ordering node is a kind of consensus node who provides the consensus to the network. And MSP is a membership service provider. So because it's a permission blockchain, so who gonna give the permission to the any participant or any node or any user to be access the blockchain? So that will role maintained and managed by the membership service provider. And manage membership service provider is a different implementation because it's a modular architecture. So we have an option to use the existing certificate authority called OpenSSL or Verigen, Symantec, or any kind of some certificate authority who can generate the public and private keys. And but Fabric runs with the Fabric is a default certificate authority for their implementation. And a smart contract called is a chain code, and that could be written in Go, JavaScript, and Node.js, and even Java. So assets is a simple any digital representation of the any value or any anything on the blockchain. Transactions, who will insert the is some kind of representation of how we can update the asset value or asset transfer to some another user. Ledger and word state. So unlike the other blockchains, here we have two different concept in the block ledger part. So one is the ledger to store the history of all the blocks, and another is to store the word state, means the current state of the any key value pair. So in Ethereum, we just have one ledger to store all the details. Here we have two ledgers. One ledger to store the block information, means the block in the blockchain. Another is to store the current value of the asset, current state of the any key. Okay, so this channel concept, endorsement policy give the more flexibility in the Hyperledger Fabric blockchain. So now even you could run the multiple blockchains, multiple ledgers in the same blockchain, same network. So that channel will differentiate the different business logic and different organizations' specific security needs, privacy needs, while dividing the network in separate channels, separate logical representation of the secure and the private ledger. So that will enhance and fulfill the need of the enterprise editions. Like in the same network, if two organizations don't want to share their personal information to some another organization, so they could create the separate channel between each other and do all the transaction. So endorsement policy so is similar to consensus. So if we talk about the other blockchain, like in Ethereum, there is a proof of work, and which will done by all the nodes in the Ethereum blockchain to prove that any transaction is valid or not. So in Fabric, we can do that kind of transaction validation at the various stage level. So first, we could do at the SDK level, at the peer level, at the organization member level. That called the endorsement policy, means which organization should approve the transaction to get commit and to send to the orderer. And then ordering itself could do some kind of consensus, like out of 5 order, only 3 orders would do the transaction validation. So all this is a industry requirement when we run the enterprise blockchains. And for the developer life easy to how to implement the Fabric blockchains, there are a couple of SDKs available, and which SDKs in different languages, uh, called Java, Node.js, Go, and Python, and many more plugins available, or kind of APIs available to create the new SDKs. For example, .NET SDK work is going on. So this is typical Hyperledger Fabric architecture. So in the bottom we have a events stream, and where the all the gRPC communication is a kind of peer-to-peer networking done. Then we have three different layers called stack, like here membership services, who will do the registration and identity management of the users who are going to be part of the blockchain network. Then we have blockchain services called consensus management, P2P, ledger storage, and distributed ledger. Then we have chain code services where our business logic is written, and how we going to secure that chain code running and chain code. And then above that we have a different APIs and SDKs and CLI to operate those blockchains. So in the architecture perspective, how the any blockchain application looks like. So we have a client application, maybe any user interface. Then we have SDK implementation, Hyperledger Fabric Client SDK, and that SDK could communicate the member services who will allow a kind of validation of the users and the node and the peer itself. Even the peer membership is need to be approved first, then any transaction could be started. Then there are ordering services who will do the consensus of the particular transaction. And then there are peer roles, so the peer could be the different roles. So similar to the full node and full node and half node concept in the Ethereum. So here, like endorser who will just do the kind of approving of the transaction, and committer who just commit the data in the ledger. So all these roles can be fragmented or separated, so it will improve the performance, and we can give the specific role to the specific peer, and that will improve the performance and the network capabilities. So just that is a very brief about the theoretical part. So let me show you, just run the basic Hyperledger Fabric network. So all this we need to run the technology in the Docker containers. So maybe even we can run all the other separate components in the as a native component, maybe in the Ubuntu machine or in the Windows machine or any kind of servers. So here I'm just showing the running network. So I talked about some components, like there is a Fabric CA, the component who will provide the user management and kind of security and privacy and management of the identities of the different components. And then we have a CouchDB. So I talk about the storage of the ledger, and specific about the key value store, a word state. So this is stored in this CouchDB server. And then we have an ordering service. This is ordering service who will approve the block and then commit to the blockchains. And then we have peer component, this one. And I talked like chain code even running in a separate Docker container. So your chain code running in separate Docker container. So this is a typical implementation. So other than, there are many things. Even the Fabric, you have flexibility to customize your block commit type. So just let me show you. So like when defining the any blockchain network, we need to define this kind of configuration files. And I let me show you the. So this one. So because other blockchains like Ethereum, we have fixed a fixed configuration about the block cut, and when the block will cut. But in the Fabric, we can define that. So like suppose here is defined like after 2 seconds, after every 2 seconds the block will be cut, and all the transaction which will approved during that 2 seconds will be um, merged to that block. And even we can define that block configuration on the basis of the best size. So maybe the maximum messages in this one, even the memory limitation. So all this is customizable in the Fabric network. And even the security part, so even we can configure the particular uh, what organization, suppose like this is the organization one, and what they can do. So these are different policies. So like suppose uh, so anybody of the organization, means the admin role, peer or client, can read the data, but only the admin and client could write to the data. Similarly, only the admin should able to configure and manage the network or operations network, and only the peer could provide the endorsement policy. So there are many more configuration as per the requirement. Okay, so I'm just showing to how to run the first network. So so let me explain the first. Okay, this one. Yeah, just 1 minute. So all this comes to the Fabric samples, but as a user, as per the requirement, we can customize it. So for this is the one sample network. So in this network, we have 5 orderers, and then we have 2 organization, and every organizations have a 2 peer like this. And then we have to define the our network configuration, means who will be the part of the channel, and what are the different roles and responsibilities in the network, and where they are running, and their specific block cut time, when the block will cut, like 2 seconds here, and even the type of the consensus type, like this order type is etcd raft. So here we are using the raft as a consensus, this one. So that every user need to learn like how this so like this one. So this is a consortium. So where in this blockchain network there are 2 organization part of the network, org1 and org2, and with this 5 orderer, and this order running on the specific ports, and their naming of the host name is like that. So let me show you the Docker compose file. So here the every peer is running on the specific node and CLI to access those nodes. So first I will bring down my network which is running. So you could see that one peer 1 is down, then second peer is down, then order is going to down, and then CouchDB where we'll store the our. So blockchain is just kind of distributed system. So we have multiple multiple component running and talking to each other via the Docker network. So this I'm just running the network, so you could see what different steps are happening. So I will explain in detail. So first it is generating the artifacts uh, for the peer, and like you could see I'm using the 2.2 latest version, and first I'm generating the certificates, means that the cryptographic material, because every component should have some kind of valid identity to be communicate in the network. So we defined our identities in this crypto config file I explained here. This one. So using this file, we are generating those certificates, and all these are stored in the folder. So let me show you, go to the cryptographic folder here. So when I created that file, is created all the peers, all the different components, their public private key details, and every cryptographic functions. Even like if this is the private key is generated, and then the this is their public key certificate, and even the every component, whether is a peer, whether is a fabric CA, whether is a orderer. If we have 5 orders, the 5 orders have the separate their certificates and their private keys. And even if we enable the TLS, then even that TLS certificates, the transport layer security certificates are created like this one. So this is a certificate, and this is the private key, like this CA certificate. So when this created, then we need to define our blockchain consortium, means which organization will be part of the blockchain network, and their specific channel, and the first Genesis block. So even we have flexibility to create the Genesis block. In Genesis block, we can define our customization data, means like block cut time and whatever the things we are written in this file, we'll use to create our configuration file, our Genesis block file, this one. So if you go here, so you can see the channel artifacts. So you could see. So this is the Genesis block, the first block of the blockchain. So if you see this configuration block, you could see the many more detail. So like our channel name written, then their certificates, and all the component certificate. Like suppose we have 5 organization, 5 orderer, or whatever the components, all their certificates are written and stored in the configuration block. And even their access policies, like what they have different policies, like block validation, right admission, like this one. And then that channel transaction. So initially whatever we define, all this, like suppose we creating the my channel, so it's going to create the channel as per our definition in the configuration file. So actually it's a very complex system. So, and that's why it's very best suited for the enterprise blockchain, because everything you can customize. So you can see the channel defaults. So this is this one. So using this profile, I created the Genesis blocks. You could even see how I am creating it, like this one profile. So you could see I'm using this 2aux channel profile name, and then it will, what are things written here, the consortium name and the organization will be part of the channel to be created. And Then some updates means the kind of anchor pair. So there is an anchor pair concept. So generally orderer is not going to send the transaction and block every pair. So he's just going to send the only to anchor or the kind of lead pair, and that lead pair will uh, distribute those blocks to the another organization's peer. So anchor peer will generally talk to the another organization's peer. So he's kind of communicating to the another organization's peer. So when this done, then we using the that uh, Docker Compose file and running our network. So in this Docker Compose file, so there are even though there are different configuration. Like suppose if you want to use the CouchDB as your database, then you could run this file. If you're running only the a normal, then you can run this one. So many more. And if you see here, so all the certificate which we are created is now we are mounted in the our volume section. And like suppose this is Genesis block is mounted to the that ordering peer base channel, our orderer, like this one. So all this certificate and the that artifacts which we created, which generally stored in this channel artifact and channel crypto config folder, which mounted to our Docker Compose files, and Docker Compose file read this, and then it will create the network. So like this one. And then some specific, even the whatever the things you are not configured and defined, you can override on the your Docker Compose file where the this uh, flex. Like suppose if you want to enable the TLS, you can just put the true here, and even you can mount the direct certificate to this location. Suppose you want to override those things, and who is going to be leader of that particular organization. So if you define the particular peer, then particular peer will become the leader of that particular organization, and many more things you can define here. So when the our Docker Compose file is written, then it will up the our Docker container and components here. So you could see our all the different peers, order, and everything is running. This one. And in the specific port number like 805, 905, 1005, and many more. Okay, so this is about configuring the network and run the network. Then later come to the steps like we need to uh, join the channel. So when we create a channel, then every organization which is part of our channel configuration need to join the channel. So there is commands like the peer join channel command. So that particular peer will join the channel. Then you could see the same command we running from the four commands 4 times, because every organization has the 2 peers, and they will join to the our channel. Then we are going to update the anchor peer configuration, because the peer can talk to the other organization's peers. This one. So this will define our organization is our blockchain is created. Our organization is become the member of the blockchain. Now comes to the part of the chain code. So before deploying chain code, so generally we could have different couple of options to write the chain code. So I will show you some sample chain codes. So like for example, let me see this chain code. So we have many options. I suppose if we can write the chain code in Go language. So if you see, this is the basic chain code in Go language. So like suppose this chain code generally store the details of the particular car. So like the make, model, color, and honor of the car. And then first is initializing that smart contract. So just storing some initial car information, then creating the new car, and then query the car data, and the change the owner means kind of transfer ownership of the car. So this chain code didn't go. So similar chain code could be written in Java. So now see, this is the Java chain code. This one. Same thing, same logic, but in different languages. So even we can write in JavaScript. So now,
Hey Kamlesh, sorry to interrupt, but we are running out of time. So
yeah. So I'm just already done. I'm just explaining actually what the different steps are involved.
sure.
Yeah. So these are the different chain code languages we can use it. Even though we can use the TypeScript also, like this. So when the chain code installed, then we need to install the chain code to the all the member peer. So this is command to install the chain code, like peer lifecycle chain code install, and this is the chain code package. So this package is created via the um, um, via the uh, peer chain code create package. So whatever the source code is created in the this tar package, then we need to install the pair chain code to the another organization peer, this one. And then even in the fabric, we don't have, we have flexibility to even the approve the chain code. If the any peer didn't approve chain code, then we can't use the chain code. So like say for just the peer is inquiring like peer life source chain code query installed. So if we can see the data, so like this one, so only the organization M1 is approved, that approved the chain code. So and is not approved, so that then we can't use the chain code. Then in the next step, I'm approving chain code to the from the another organization. So now the chain code is able to use, and then I can invoke the chain code. So like this, so I can query the data, so it will give the data, or this one. So this is a typical any flow of the any Hyperledger Fabric blockchain. And there are in the, if I go to my slides, so there are different involvement. So what we need, like suppose we need Go language, Docker Compose, Node, and npm modules. Then we have some samples available from the Hyperledger Fabric Hyperledger projects, and then various things to be started. Like you can just go to the hyperledger.org project in Fabric. There is a Rocket chat to talk to the individual person and the contributor to channel. Then proper documentation about the how to you can get starting in the Hyperledger blockchain, and even the proper source code in the GitHub repository of the Fabric. You can build your own Docker images, and then all the contribution, the help, all open issues, what the new features coming, and their issues and bugs available publicly. You can use that. So yeah, even we can have a questions now. Till that, I also can give the proper documentation link from where you can start.
That would be great. I think if you could share the links so that people can, access it. So we have two questions. So first question is from Amisha.
Okay.
What is the skill requirement to be a consultant for Hyperledger Fabric for someone who has a commerce background like the CAs?
Okay, so consultant, generally two types of consultants. One is a techno-functional consultant, or one is a proper kind of business analyst. So for you need to have a skills about your business domain. Like suppose your company working in the supply chain, so basic idea about how the supply chain works. There are different kind of standards, that skills, and the understanding about the blockchain in general, blockchain, what the blockchain offers, like transparency, trust, security, and the kind of token economies, how we can build the new business models with the blockchain. So that you need to have.
Okay, great. So the second question is, what does pluggable consensus exactly mean?
So pluggable consensus means so in Ethereum we have a proof of work, means every every involvement peers need to approve the transaction block, then it will commit it. So in Fabric, you have an option to choose the consensus type. Means suppose if you are comfortable and you already have the Kafka and Zookeeper infrastructure with you, then you can use the Kafka and Zookeeper. And suppose if you want to go with the rafts, you can use a raft. So raft is one kind of leader-based selection process who will decide who is going to be next going to cut the block. So that all is customizable, so you can define it as per your need. So because every enterprise have the different requirement, because maybe someone just want to be only the block cuts to be particular organized. Suppose, for example, there are 5 organization in the particular network, and only 2 approval required to cut the block. Then why need to use the proof of work and every organization should approve the transaction? So those things we can customize in the Fabric.
Okay, great. So with that, we have come to the end of the session. Kamlesh, do you have any closing remarks, or where can people reach out to you?
So yeah, so people can reach out to me on the LinkedIn, Twitter, or so I will share my LinkedIn profile. So anybody connect me there. And closing remarks. So because half an hour is very less time to understand the Hyperledger, because even I'm not sure how many people get it, because it's very complex. Even that's why all the different companies and the enterprise world is adopting the Hyperledger, because when you talk about the building the enterprise blockchain, then the Fabric is the best suited. So even if you know about the Walmart and with the Food Trust blockchain and the trade finance, if you have the Musk, that TradeLens, all this based on Hyperledger Fabric, and similar to that many more. So if you go to this section of the hyperledger.org, so I will share this too. And for the training and anything, so maybe because it's a open source, so you can get the code, even the everything properly documented, which is available in the repositories. So even let me share the many more details like this. And even my company also provide the kind of training part. So if anybody interested, then can also reach out to here or reach out to me on LinkedIn.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. So Indian Blockchain Institute. So people can reach out to you through Indian Blockchain Institute.
Yeah. So it's a part of our Snapper Future Tech initiative for the educating the blockchain for the students, working professional, and even the executive level. We have different blockchain programs there.
Okay.
And I forget to share about the another where I am just quite involved with the that Hyperledger India chapter. So Hyperledger have their India presence called Hyperledger India chapter, and I'm managing those Hyperledger India as a co-lead of that India meeting. So we have a every weekday meeting on Wednesday, 3 p.m. on Zoom. And if you search the Hyperledger calendar, you will get the calendar details. So even you can follow the Hyperledger India chapter link and can talk to us anytime.
Okay, awesome. That was a great session, Kamlesh. Thank you so much. Guys, we'll be back with the last session. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in 2 minutes. All right. See you guys.
Thank you.